Give it up for our next act, Yakov Olivarria.
Woo! Thank you.
Get off the stage!
All right. Okay. Tonight, I host a show, and I have to do an opening monologue for it, so I'm here to practice some of those jokes. So, first off, sorry I'm out of breath. I just came walking from literally anywhere on campus. I see Echo the Eagles here. What's up, Echo? Echo, he's got kind of a big beak. Can you even eat soup with that dude? All right. I'm gonna try out some jokes that some of my staff writers wrote for me. Some Adventist jokes. So this joke was written by Kyle Rumble. You know you're at an Adventist university when the most intense debate on campus is whether haystacks really count as a salad or a full meal. Thanks, Kyle. And that's gonna be my time, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you very much. I hope you all tune into the La Sierra show and enjoy. All right, that's my time. Echo's coming up next with his next tight five, so give it up. Hi, and welcome to the La Sierra show. Welcome to episode 3. Before we get started, just a couple quick announcements before we get into the chunk of this episode. Announcement number 1, I will be getting a haircut before the next episode, so please do not be too alarmed, and it is coming. That was mainly for my mom. Now, moving on, I'd like to introduce our guest for this episode, Aren Rennacker. You guys might recognize him from being our spiritual emphasis speaker this week. Mr. Rennacker actually went to PUC to get his BA in journalism and came here to La Sierra to get his master's in theology. Mr. Rennacker is running the new department for the Pacific Union Conference known as the Growing Young Leaders. The Growing Young Leaders is a new department that is focusing on encouraging and supporting the new up-and-coming future educators and pastors for the Adventist Church. It's a program that I think is really, truly important, and I really wanted to hear and learn more about. And so Aren was generous enough to give us his time. Please welcome my guest, Mr. Aren Rennacker. Thank you for coming on the show.
Thank you, Yakov.
All right. I hope so. So just to get started, so before we get into your new position, like running the Growing Young Leaders department and all that, because I really do want to talk to that for the chunk of this episode. I really want to get to know a little bit more about you. What's your background? Were you raised Adventist? Were you not? Where are you from exactly? Let's learn a little bit more about Aren Rennacker.
Yeah. Are you going to get a haircut soon?
Yeah, you know what, man? Next week, I promise. Okay. I booked the appointment the other day. I'm not going to explain what I'm going to do with it. It's going to be a surprise for the audience, but there's a reason it's getting this long, and I really hope it doesn't go wrong. So
no, it's a good look.
I appreciate it.
What was your question?
It was, where are you from, and did you grow up Adventist? Tell us about your background, childhood, all that.
So I am from Sacramento originally, Northern California.
Nice. Kings fan?
Big Kings fan. I'm surprised you even know that team exists.
You know what?
Most people think I'm a Warriors fan because it's the only team they know.
I'm not going to lie. I got a heads up that you were from Sacramento, so I had to throw that in there. Otherwise.
So we do have a team, the Sacramento Kings. We are perpetually terrible, but I grew up about 20 minutes from the stadium, went to games growing up, loved them dearly. I was going to drink the water first, but
I'm sorry about that. I figured I'd drink while you were talking so we could cut to you.
That's why you're the best in the biz.
You know what? A professional. They hired someone with tons of experience.
Yeah, I love that intro, by the way.
In one take. In one solid take. I was about to say that.
Amazing.
You're beating me to all the jokes I'm going to make. So, you know what? You go ahead. I'm going to just stop talking. Tell us about your wonderful Kings.
Yeah, I'm not going to talk about the Kings because they're not wonderful. But I grew up in a non-Adventist family and was sent to an Adventist school in 7th grade because it had a good reputation as a good Christian school. And Mom sent us there. Bunch of weird religious kids that I was not interested in really getting to know too well. But then, to my surprise, they were a really kind community that welcomed me in. Got baptized, became an Adventist, and was excited to become a sports writer.
Nice.
I love sports. Yes. I shared with the campus this week that originally the plan was the NBA, like it is for many young boys and girls for the WNBA. But I realized quickly that wasn't going to happen.
You weren't going to be the next Pat McAfee or
was
something.
not going to be. Well, he's an NFL
NFL
player.
sport.
Yeah. Oh, gotcha. Oh, for the sports writer part.
Sports writer part. That's what I meant by
that's
that.
My bad. That's
no,
my bad.
see,
No,
you
Pat
almost
McAfee-
embarrassed me
No,
there, and
you're-
I almost was like, wow, I got that really wrong.
That was on me.
I want you to know, I was like, while you were speaking, I'm like, should I make this reference?
Yeah.
And I made it.
Well, you
and-
shouldn't have, but it
Okay,
was still my fault.
All right,
It
never
was
mind.
still
My fault. All right, good. Continue.
No, but
Momentum here is great. It's going good.
I'm having a great time.
Yes.
Do you want these lights on? They're normally not on.
Oh, no, I don't want them on.
Yeah.
Good call. Good call.
Thank you, Mark.
Yeah.
We're leaving that in, by the way. That's good. No.
We could do every joke perfectly again.
Yes, I'm
from
going to keep only
and
the
then
bad
you say,
parts.
and then I say, and then you say.
I'm only going to keep in the parts where we talk over each other. So that's just for the best audio. And then only release the audio version
love
of
it.
this.
I love it.
So it's a little bit avant-garde, you know what I mean? But
Wow, you're such an artist.
Shoot, I try to be, you know what I mean? No, don't say that. That's cringy.
That's
but-
funny. That's funny.
Okay.
Yeah, so I studied journalism at PUC.
Awesome.
But that was when I kind of made a pivot into ministry.
Oh, you're saying there wasn't a bunch of job opportunities waiting for you with the journalism degree?
You know,
I'm playing. Sorry, that was a little.
You know, that's actually a fair question.
I'm studying film. I don't know what I'm talking about. Yeah.
No, I get it. You know, you're trying to become a journalist, and so good luck with that.
No, I feel like I'm spitting in the faces of journalists by doing this.
No, you know
honestly.
what was funny though was it was a neat place. The Napa Valley, where PUC is, of course, was kind of a neat place to explore that career field a little bit. It was actually about halfway through that I decided I think I want to do youth ministry, but I didn't change my major because I was enjoying it so much.
Okay.
And so I was like, I want to complete my communications and journalism studies,
Yeah.
and then just try to become a pastor after, which is not recommended.
Okay.
And not, I mean, you need to get a theology degree to be a pastor.
Right.
I was just fortunate enough that it worked out for me.
I was gonna say because I feel like that's rare. Most people are like like okay, they give up on the dream part
Right.
to do the degree that's right. But
I
like, no,
I love the communication classes, and to be honest with you,
Yeah.
I do think my communication background has been helpful in ministry. I think that there are a lot of advantages to, well, let me back up. A theology degree is critically important, and of course I went to get a graduate degree in theology, but
right here at La Sierra University.
Shouts out LSU.
Shout out LSU.
But I do not regret the communication courses and background that I was able to get as well at PUC, because what is ministry if not, communicating with people?
Yeah,
So
literally. That's really cool. So you went to PUC, then you eventually did come here to La Sierra, get your theology degree. Ron, what year is this?
yeah, I graduated in 2017, and I was doing like 2 classes a quarter because I was pastoring full time. Actually, for a couple years, I was pastoring in San Diego and driving up to Riverside a couple times a week to take classes at night, which doesn't sound like much, but if you're in this area, that's a brutal
It is.
drive, and so I was grinding, man, and it was worth it.
I feel like that is like a canon event that like a lot of like people who work for the Adventist Church have to do, is doing the classes and also like the working. I remember like my parents did the same thing. My dad was trying to get his master's here. He would drive up after school every day, whatever work. It doesn't matter. Who cares about that? But anyway, so you came here to La Sierra, your Theo degree. And then you ended up going to pastor around Cali Mesa and Oceanside. Is that correct? Okay,
Yeah,
cool.
so Oceanside first, which is in San Diego.
Right, I am actually super familiar with Oceanside.
Yeah?
Like, I went, like growing up, I'd go there like a lot, like way more than like San Diego for whatever reason.
Yeah.
People like to poop on it, but you know what? I like Oceanside.
Dude, Oceanside's amazing.
We got a pier.
Yeah. Do people poop on it?
Well, I mean, it's like the little brother to.
Gotcha,
when you're right next to San Diego,
Fair,
you know
fair.
what I mean?
Yeah, Oceanside is amazing. I mean,
sweet.
it is. Yeah, maybe it's not like downtown San Diego, but I loved it. I went there fresh out of college because I got hired to be a pastor. So I was like 21 years old. I'm living in Oceanside. The church is like right on the coast. Like I could basically see the ocean from my office, which I'm like, dang, pastoring's fun. And I loved it. I was there for about 5 years. We had a bunch of, because of the Marine Corps base that's in Oceanside, we had a bunch of Marines at our church, which was a lot of fun too. And it was so much fun. And like, the only downside is that was my first job. You're supposed to like retire in Oceanside, not start your career, because then I moved to San Bernardino.
Yeah. Some would call it an uphill. I don't know who those people are, but, but
brutal decision. Although that is where I met my wife, had a great time at that church.
There you go.
It all worked out.
There you go. Had to go to Nineveh. Just a little biblical reference.
Look at you, theologian.
We try to be well versed, But anyway, so and this was doing youth pastoring in both positions,
Correct,
right?
yeah.
And so you spent the decade and a half, right, doing youth pastoring, right? So I'm assuming you have a calling to this, right?
Yeah. So it was about 5 years in Oceanside, about 4 years at Cali Mesa, and then that's when I was asked to be the youth director for our conference.
Right.
And what that means is essentially you are doing administrative work to help support all of the church's youth ministries. So you're not at one specific church no longer as a pastor. You are providing guidance, leadership, and vision for the conference's youth ministries, which was so much fun. I did that for about 5.5 years. Youth and young adult ministry, and that includes children's ministries, club ministries, if we have any Pathfinders or adventurers out there. So I love that. So yeah, that was in total about 14 years, I think. And yeah, you know, the word calling is a funny thing. Of course, we use it in
I have a
different
question
ways.
about that later on.
Yeah. But I guess, you know, did I feel a calling to it? Yeah, I'd say so.
Okay, cool. Well, I mean, I was going to say that because that is like going to be my big question I had for you at the end. Okay. But I mean, I'm just asking now because part of what you're running is, you know, the Growing Young Leaders Department, right? And so this is to help, like we said, support the future teachers and pastors from the young generation, right? The people studying to do that. So I guess from your perspective, talking about that word calling, right? There might be students listening who are like on the fence about that, or might be thinking, you know, do I want to be a pastor? You know, and you hear that a lot. You hear, like you said, the word, it's a calling. Being a teacher is a calling. Being a pastor is a calling. But you never really hear what exactly that means. You know what I like? Actually, like articulated, and maybe that's different for everybody. You know, so I'm just curious, like, what in your opinion is that calling? Is it different for everybody, and if so, what was it for you?
Yeah, great questions. I think that I don't want to necessarily give a blanket answer that applies to everyone.
Right.
I think for a lot of people, stepping into, I'll speak specifically on pastoral ministry, it's a scary thing. You know, you are stepping into a position of leadership on behalf of the church and really on behalf of God in a way, and that I would hope is intimidating to anybody. And so I think for many people, the reason that they feel willing to step into that leadership position is because not that they want to be on a stage, not that they want power per se, not that they want, because they feel that they are being led or called to do something as courageous as lead the church. And I think that's a beautiful thing. And how we experience that calling can be felt in so many different ways. You hear 100 different stories of how people become pastors, but most of them come down to, I feel God was saying, I know this is a scary thing, but it's not happening by accident. And so we would call that a calling. It's on purpose. And that while you're not a perfect person by any means, you are anointed or called to step out and lead. Now, that isn't to say that only pastors can feel a calling or only teachers can feel a calling. I really believe our calling is something any of us can experience when we really feel that we are doing this because we truly believe in the impact that it can make. And so what I believe my calling has been, and what I think that calling looks like more generally, is that, and this is something I talked about at Week of Prayer, and I talk about with students when we talk about growing young leaders, which I can share about as well, but is the feeling of fulfillment. And I define fulfillment as a holy collision when the difference that you want to see happen in the world and the work that you are doing and putting your time towards collide. And that to me is so fulfilling. And usually it's very exhausting. And usually it's a lot of work. And usually it leaves you questioning, should I really be doing this because this is hard? But the answer always comes back to yes, because you believe in it. And that's what I would call fulfillment. And I think when we can find work that is fulfilling, it's worth the exhaustion because we believe in it and we're helping people, we're serving, we're making our world, our church, our community better. That's the best calling there can be.
That's it. Yeah. I mean that's the ultimate goal, right? You're trying that's what makes work, when work starts not being work anymore. It's more of like, I'm doing this because this is what I'm meant to be doing. And it's when you see those tangible results, it's like, it makes you feel good. It kind of does, right? You know,
totally.
So that's what makes you keep going. So that's really cool. So then I guess my next question is, you've sort of, I guess to preface it, youth pastoring is sort of typically seen as like a first stepping stone, you know what I mean? You do that and you go into like real bad, but you stuck staying and working with the youth. So talk about that. Why have you found you have an affinity for that?
Yeah, thanks for asking that. Because it is true. I think the natural idea is you graduate from college, you get hired as a youth pastor, you're like, you know, in the second chair or third or fourth, and then one day you'll get to be, you know, a real pastor or whatever. And, you know, certainly there may be some truth to that. But for me, and maybe this says more about me, but youth ministry continues to be the thing for me. You know, I'm now 36 years old. I've been a pastor, for about 14, almost 15 years. And while I'm not youth pastoring at a local church, you know, anymore, coming back to what we were saying before, I still feel called or still experience fulfillment through the importance of working in youth ministry. I also got to give a shout out to all senior pastors, soul pastors, district pastors. Yeah. What you do is amazing, and
it's all important.
It's all important, and everything's a little bit different, and it fits us in different ways. You know, somebody on your team, Morgan Schmitz, who's a student here.
Morgan's here actually in the audience.
Here. I know. I'm kind of like it's
okay. You can talk to her. She's scared. Yeah.
You know, she's actually one of our Growing Young Leaders scholars. Yeah. She's a leader here on this campus, and she's looking at a career in ministry. And we got coffee a little while ago, and I was asking her, like, what field of pastoring are you considering? Mm-hmm. And, you know, she said, and I don't want to misquote her, but at that time she was saying, you know, I'm kind of open to different, you know, maybe children's, maybe youth, maybe young adult, maybe something else. And Morgan's the kind of person who I truly believe would succeed and thrive in any of those roles. Yeah, she just has that gift. But it's like each of us kind of get to see where our fulfillment is most experienced through the community in a church that we're serving. Yeah. And for some of us, like for me, I think I'd be a terrible children's pastor.
Yeah, me too.
Oh, you agree with that?
No, I would also. Yeah. No, I'm saying I would also. I can relate. No, yeah, I just never mind. I was gonna. Yeah, let's move on from that real quick. Yeah.
No, but I see Morgan, who's very involved at her local church, and some of the things she's done.
And she's right there.
And she's got.
No, I didn't. I see her too.
Amazing.
I see her too. No, thought there was a joke about.
And she would, good one. She would thrive, you know, in these roles. So we all kind of have our different gifts and our different skill sets, right?
True.
For me, for some reason. Now that being said, I don't want to be one of those guys who it's like, you really need to move on from youth ministry. Like, buddy, it's time. And maybe we're already there. And my role now is a little more administrative, so maybe that's better. But I still see the beauty of it, and I would be happy if I go to my grave having served exclusively in youth ministry.
That's awesome. No, it's an important role. But just real quick, Morgan, did he misquote you?
No, I did say that.
Okay, great. So sorry, so you had to check from the source real quick.
I told you I'm a journalist.
It's journalism. It's coming back to the roots. That's awesome. So then I want to talk to you then about your perspective on this current generation. Like, what is your overall perspective, opinion on it? Like, how does it differ from when like you were like in college?
Yeah.
Like, when you look around, how is it better, worse? What's different in general? You know.
How old are you, Yakov?
I am 21 years old.
21. So you're a Gen Zer?
I am a Gen Zer.
Let me ask you first.
Shout out.
I'm thirsty. How do you feel about your generation?
Well, take your drink. I'll give you a long answer. I think.
Keep it short.
You know what? We're okay.
A little more.
Okay, so thank you. I just want to check. No, I actually think we got some decently good heads on our shoulders.
Okay.
I do think we are very aware of our surroundings. We don't fall for baloney. And that being said, though, I think that can like cause us to feel a little bit jaded. You know, like when you see all the problems, it's hard to be optimistic. Yeah. But on the other hand, I do think that because we are aware of the problems, we're gonna actually try to fix it. And also, we have things like technology, the internet, which is like one of the most massive changes in society that's in all of history, right? Totally. And we're the first generation to grow up with that, and so I think that does have hold some significance. So I'm cautiously optimistic about our generation. Like, I actually think our generation's kids won't have as many phones as we did because we see the issue. That's just an example of how I think. And then again, there's the things where we can get jaded, but I'm cautiously optimistic. That's my viewpoint.
Yeah, absolutely. I really like what you said. My view on the younger generations, which I guess would include Gen Alpha, but that's like 12 years old and younger. So we don't know much about that. Let's just focus on you.
They're not listening to this.
Just talk about you.
When I said younger generation, I did mean Gen Z, by the way.
You don't think you have Gen Alpha audience, man? I heard that.
I don't know.
I heard that this podcast is like number 4 in the Gen Alpha range.
So it's there, and in general, actually. So there's Joe Rogan, and we're right above.
Right there.
Actually.
Oh, you're above. You passed him.
Now we did. He fell off a little bit.
Gotcha. Yeah, I did hear that. Okay.
A little bit, yeah.
Which would make you like the next
Joe Rogan, basically. Yeah. That's not what I want to be at all. We're gonna scrub that immediately.
Congratulations.
Oh boy, thank you.
Okay. Here's what I feel about Gen Z.
Okay. They were saying, here's how I feel about Joe Rogan.
Let's talk just scrap your questions. Let's talk about that.
I'll throw them right now. No.
I love Gen Z, man. Yeah. I think you guys are such an amazing generation.
Shucks.
No, like, first of all, and I'm going to go for a little while here, so
please.
If that's okay.
I'm going to drink.
First of all, every generation, what's the term you used earlier? Pooped on? Very, very, very academic term. Every generation, I'm going to say gets dunked on. Every generation gets dunked on by older generations, right? Like, it's been happening since the beginning of time. I actually wrote an article about this one time, and I did some research, and I found like clips from newspapers in like the 1940s of them just dogging on kids.
You really were wanting to be a journalist.
Yeah, right, exactly. So like, it's always happened, right? For centuries. It's like, we call it the kids these days crowd, right? So right now, Gen Z is getting dunked on in so many ways. Like, oh, the kids these days. And I just do not buy into that at all.
Yeah.
For a few reasons. One is because it always happens. But here are 3 things I love about your generation. One is your generation is fiercely committed to the ethic and value of belonging. So this idea that everybody can belong even if they look different, they act different, they think different. Like if, they don't fit in, they should fit in. From a Christian perspective, that is incredible. I mean, that is what the gospel is about. We see it time and time again. When God's Spirit descends, divisions that previously existed vanish. And God's Spirit brings people together. And I think that God's Spirit is working through Gen Zers to bring people together. And so I love that about you. I remember, so for an example, when I grew up going to youth group, we saw like the other church youth groups as like our rivals. So it was like they had their youth room, they had their worship team, they had their youth pastor, and we had ours. Right. And like, I don't want to know about it, I don't want to see it. Like there was nothing.
Perfect. Then, it's like the Kings, and who are their rivals?
Well, we would say the Lakers, but like the Lakers beat up on the Kings constantly. So I don't even think we've earned the right to say we're rivals.
I know that, I just wanted you to explain that because I'm a Lakers fan.
Oh, so. That's cute.
That's cute. It's the most championships of all, the second most. Moving on real quick from that one.
Anyway,
yeah, that's pretty bad.
But then what happened was that I became a youth pastor to some Gen Z kids.
Okay.
And then they come to me and they're like, Pastor Aren, can we do a joint worship with the other youth groups in town, like all together? And I was like, yo, why? I was like, why would we do that? And they're like, well, we all worship Jesus. Let's just do it together. Yeah. I was like, all right, like we'll try it once, but you're going to see this next one. And then we did it, and it was amazing, and it was beautiful. And it kind of taught me like, oh, God's Spirit is like teaching us older generations through the younger, which we see throughout Scripture happen as well. So I love that. That's the first thing. The second thing is just your resilience. A lot of people say Gen Zers are weak, they're fragile, and all these things. I do not buy into that. Every generation has their own cultural moments and challenges, right? So some generations experience World War, some experience economic depression, some experienced rising divorce rates. You guys have had to go through some really rough stuff. We know what that is, but obviously the biggest would probably be the pandemic or the ubiquity of cell phones. It's so funny. Again, people rip on our young people for being addicted to their phones. Who gave you guys the phones? It's the older generations created it, gave it to you, and then is blaming you for getting addicted to it. It's like, why is that your fault?
We were literal babies when they gave it to us.
Like it's your fault anyway. But you guys actually I believe, our young people are very resilient. I think you guys have had to go through a lot of stuff. I am so grateful that, I was in high school just before social media really took off. We were more like the MySpace generation, which was not something everybody had. College was like Facebook for me. Yeah. But you guys didn't have that option. I mean, you had social media at such a young age, and that's hard. So I really love your resilience. I think you're a strong generation. And then the last thing is just how you want to impact the world and how you want to impact the church. Something that I love asking young people when I travel around and meet with them is like, how do you want to impact the world in the next 10 years? Or what is the difference you want to see? And consistently, I just hear like more peace, less judgment. They want the doors of the church to open wider. They want their friends to find belonging in the church. They want to heal some of the hurt that people are experiencing in our world. And I'm just like, this generation is amazing, and you all are doing incredible stuff. So now, you're not perfect, no generation is, but I have so much hope from what I see from our young people, and it's why I'm excited for the future of the world and the Seventh-day Adventist Church.
Yeah, no, I think it's really easy to get pessimistic, but also it is easy to get optimistic if you really look at the right things. But I think it's like, I want to go back to something you said that was interesting. It's like, every generation has their own kind of like their own big whatever conflict, crisis, whatever it is, war, whatever, famine. We had the pandemic, which obviously that was like pretty dramatic and pretty bad. I don't want to undermine that. But I heard someone say, I don't remember where I heard it, but it was pretty interesting that like the actual struggle of like today is the fact that there is such a lack of conflict and lack of obstacle, and everything that you want to feel good, every immediate like pleasure that you want is right there. It's never been harder. So the actual conflict is the discipline and staying away from those things. So it's more of like an internal like crisis that I think the and everyone really is facing nowadays, but especially young people. And so, but I do think that goes hand in hand with the idea of that's why young people are able to see through like fake things and able to kind of see through the
Yeah.
trees between the forest or whatever. I think that's how the expression goes. But it's just because of that. There's all this constant barragement of information and all that. So you kind of you're forced to have to cycle through it and think through it.
No, I like that. I think maybe this is getting like a little bit too acute, but maybe your generation has the gift of macro resilience, where you have had to overcome, something like a global pandemic.
Sure.
But maybe micro resilience of the day-to-day ability to not give up too soon is a growth area for your generation.
I agree.
Because of the way that our world is, which is designed to make all of us not have any obstacles. So yeah, and obviously we're speaking generally about a whole generation of people, but I think there's a lot of truth to what you're saying. Yeah. I mean, I'm a millennial, and I have become addicted to convenience as well.
Yeah, you sure? Yeah.
Last night I had to buy an iPad for work, and so I went by Best Buy, I bought the iPad, and then they barely had any cases for the iPad. And so I was like, and of course I'm speaking here this week, and I use an iPad to speak. Yeah. And so I was like, and the reason, by the way, I had to buy an iPad, get this, dude.
Let me hear it.
Last week, I left my iPad in a rental car at the San Francisco airport. It's just sitting there. And when I'm getting ready to speak for La Sierra, I'm like, where's my iPad? Where's my iPad? I look at Find My iPad. It's at the San Francisco airport. So it's just sitting there. So I'm like, oh, I left my iPad there, lost and found. Yeah. To get it back, $47. Come on now. What is that? What is that?
That grinds my gears, Mr. Rennacker.
My gears are grinded as well.
That grinds my gears.
Yeah, so I'm like, you know what? No, I'm going to go
They're
buy a $700 iPad.
Throw it on a plane. Listen, okay, see now.
That was a better joke.
Yeah.
That was a better joke.
You kind of. It's okay. No, that was fine. That was good. It works.
All right, my bad.
It works. We'll have the YouTube auto captions going to go crazy for this episode. We're going to get a lot of timestamps from somebody in the
airport,
office.
they can't just put it on a plane and send it down here. That's a good joke. That's why you're the best in the game. Joe Rogan wishes he could make that joke.
Joe Rogan wishes he was as funny as me.
Anyways, I'm going to get the iPad back, but I needed one, and honestly, I had to get one for something else. Anyway. I'm not so like bougie that I just go replace things with. Anyway, here's my point.
Yes.
They didn't have a good case at Best Buy, so I just went on Amazon. I ordered a case. It was at my house by 4 a.m. the next morning.
That's crazy.
Like the convenience,
That's
right?
pretty good. Yeah.
I'm addicted to it as well.
No, it's good, but it's like, and I think there's some of it that's obviously better, but it's a matter of like the self-control, the going too far, like the discipline. And so so when you talk about things like spirituality or like, when things are internal, things about the soul, it's very, very easy. I think it's easier than ever to get that corrupted, in today, But that's just my opinion, and I'm not the guest here. So anyway, I do want to talk though more specifically about the growing young leaders.
Yeah,
so can you give me like the background to like how that department was even like founded, how it came together to begin with? How did you find yourself running the darn thing?
Yeah, absolutely. So it started quite a long time ago, actually, but it just in the form of the problem was a shortage of teachers and pastors in the Adventist church.
It started a long time ago because I read in an article they said it was new.
Yes. So what started a long time ago was they created a scholarship specifically for teachers. It was just for teachers. The Pacific Union, which covers California, Arizona, Nevada, Utah, and Hawaii, they said, let's make a scholarship to make the pathway possible for more young people to become professional educators. So they made this scholarship, and for several years it existed in that form. Then it expanded to include theology students as well, teachers and pastors. So it's been in that form for a few years now. But what is brand new is, I think, this iteration of Growing Young Leaders and the way it looks now. And part of that was they decided this has grown. We now have a few dozen of our scholars on this scholarship program. We need somebody to actually oversee this program. They had no director over it. So they created the director position. I was asked to fill that position. So I'm the first director of the position, and we are, it's kind of like phase 2 of Growing Young Leaders.
You've been there for how long now?
Like 5 months.
Okay,
so
cool.
Pretty new.
Yeah. How's it been so far?
Amazing. I'm loving it. And you know what excites me is the church. We're not exactly early adopters of things, right? We are not an innovative organization at all. And so anytime I see creativity and innovation by the church, I get excited. Yeah. And now I get to be a part of something that is actually rather innovative in the church. I don't think we really have something quite like this as far as we've seen in the church. And so I did not create it. I don't get any credit for that. But I have been given the trust to continue to develop this ministry. And it's so cool. We have, I think, 49 current Growing Young Leaders scholars. So those are education and theology students. About 3/4 of them are either at PUC or La Sierra. Those are the two schools in our union. The other quarter are at different Adventist schools across North America. But I've gotten to meet individually with all 49 of those students, and just like I was talking about before, I was so inspired by the. I mean, the future and present of the church is in good hands. I mean, these leaders. Take Morgan, for example. Let's just bring it back to Morgan.
Bring it back to Morgan real quick. Morgan
we
Schmitz.
got a third chair. We could
shout out Morgan. You want to come join us on the episode? We can get her on right now. We can if you want to. You want to? Whatever.
But imagine Morgan plus 48 other amazing Morgans who just are 48 Morgans. Yeah.
I don't know if that's a good thing. No, I'm just kidding. No.
I wish she was hosting the show. Anyway,
okay.
So
wow. No.
just incredible, and they're excited to be future pastors and teachers. They're excited about the difference that they're going to make in the world. They're excited about how they are going to be helping young people. And so we get to offer direct support to them. We get to provide some mentoring. We get to provide opportunities for networking. We check in, make sure studies are going well. When they're getting ready to graduate, we can make sure that while we don't provide the hiring, I'm going to do everything I can to pump them up, hype them up, advocate for them so that they get that dream job out of graduation, which I wish I had gotten. You know, I mean, it's a scary thing when you're getting ready to graduate. Who's going to hire me? I mean, you know about that.
I'm terrified 24/7. Yeah.
So, and then the big thing is the scholarship. We provide tuition assistance because college is not cheap. So, such a cool program, very creative, and so honored to get to be a part of it. The other piece that I'll say is I get to also go around our union and speak to current high school and academy students. Not saying you all need to become teachers and pastors.
Yeah.
I'm not a salesperson. I don't have a desire to be a salesman. But I do talk about fulfillment. I talk about calling, purpose, and passion, because I believe that whatever career our young people choose to go into, we love them, the church loves them, we support them, we're here for them. But I do believe there are some people who would find their fulfillment and calling in ministry and education who just don't know enough about it. Yeah. And so if I can fill in that gap, because I didn't think ministry would be so much fun, and it has been.
I mean, let's be real. I think most people, when you ask most pastors, I don't think they would all, they all say the same thing, you know?
Well, you know what's funny? When I talk to young people about pastoring, they usually have like 4 objections. Maybe I won't remember them all, but the first one is always like, they don't make any money. And
fair objection. No.
So it is fair depending on what you think a lot of money is, right?
Explain. Yes.
So I get the idea. A lot of people think pastors make like minimum wage, which is nothing wrong with that, but it's not true. Right. Like pastors, at least in the Seventh-day Adventist Church, which has one of the best pay structures for a Christian denomination, we make full salary. We've got benefits like a middle class income, and then if you send your kids to Adventist school, you're saving thousands upon thousands of dollars every year for years. And this sounds weird to say because it's not like supposed to be a flex, but we just bought a home. My wife and I just bought a home in Southern California, which is not easy.
That's not easy at all.
And that's not to say that it happened quickly. I'm in my 30s, and I have plenty of peers who did it sooner. But just the idea that pastors are like living in their car is just not accurate, or same for teachers. Do I wish they made more? Of course, but we're not broke.
No, I'm glad you said that, because you don't. Those are things they don't really talk about.
It's a misconception.
It is a misconception, but I'm glad. Thank you for being transparent
Morgan,
about
you're
that.
going to be rich someday, is what I'm saying.
Morgan, you can buy a house one day in Southern California in your 30s. Look forward to that.
Second thing is that they believe it's only for like biblical scholars who should become pastors. And they say, I don't know the Bible well enough to become a pastor. And what I tell them is, actually being a biblical scholar, that's a different profession. We have several here on the campus of La Sierra University. They're amazing. They're in academia. They have PhDs. Being a pastor, yes, familiarity with the scriptures is really important, but you're actually more of a professional relationship builder, a community leader, in addition to a biblical studies student. Not being a Bible expert doesn't disqualify you from ministry leadership. A third one is that I don't like public speaking. And I say, hey, listen, while being a part of a leader is to be able to stand up in front of people and inspire them, and that's valuable, that is a much smaller piece of pastoring than you would think. When I got hired, I thought my job was to stand on stage, give some banger sermons, and the kids would line up for baptism. And then I became a pastor, and I barely ever preached, and everything I did was like behind the scenes. And that was way better anyway. I know many great pastors who do not like public speaking, but they like serving, they like leading, they like helping. So it's not a requirement. There also are great homiletics classes to teach people how to public speak. And then the last one, real quick, is...
you did remember all of them.
That I hear, look at that, is, I'm not a boy. A lot of young women don't consider ministry because the model that they've been shown is that that's only a man's job. And of course, we're trying to shift that trend. In fact, we have this great GYL scholar that I should tell you about. Her name's Morgan.
Morgan, I've heard about this one,
She's going to kill us after
I hear there's like 48 of them or something,
But Morgan's not the only one. And we have a lot of young women who I think now are seeing that their calling can be found in professional ministry as well.
Yeah.
And then the last thing, I know I'm giving long answers.
No, please, yeah.
Because I don't want to only talk about the ministry side, but the
yeah.
teaching side as well.
Yes.
And there's a little bit of a reverse there, where a lot of young men think that teaching is, especially elementary school teaching, is only for women. But I've talked to some really great young men who are excited to become professional teachers, of course, young women as well, and find their calling there. So I really enjoy the chance to go around, speak to young people, and clear up some misconceptions, or as I like to say, tell a new story of what it means to be a leader in the church and potentially find your calling in teaching or pastoring. That's
really cool. That's a great answer. I'm sure Morgan loved it. No, I'm just kidding.
Is Morgan here?
I don't know. I think so. She's somewhere back there. She's somewhere. We can get her on. No. Oh, there goes the light. That's funny. That's cool. So you've obviously spent a lot of time then talking to young people, and they took place in the form of your own podcast, correct? Dear Church, which is, please go listen to it. If you're listening to this, I guarantee you're going to like that show. It's much better produced than ours. I listened to a little bit of it. I had to stop because I started getting depressed, and I'm like, I almost sent Mark a crash out and was like, we need to cancel the Lost Sierra show. I don't know what we're doing. This is the joke. But anyway.
I thought you were saying you got depressed because it was like
no, I got
depressing
depressed.
show.
No, I got depressed because it was so much better than ours. And so I was like, it's okay. No, I know. I'm just trying to, no, but please tell me about Dear Church and how that came to be, and it was just a pretty great project. Yeah.
No, thank you. I appreciate you asking about it. So this was something cool I got to do when I was youth director for Southeastern, so in my previous role. Part of my job was youth and young adult director of the church, and I definitely felt a burden, and so did the pastors that I worked with, to amplify the voices of young adults in the Seventh-day Adventist Church.
Awesome.
Young adults, which you all are some of the most valuable leaders that we have, and sometimes you just aren't given the microphone, which in all sincerity is why I love what you're doing, and I'm glad the university is giving you the opportunity to do this show, because we need to hear from you. And one day it'll get better.
One day, hopefully. One day soon.
Once you get real guests on.
One day soon they'll get another host and it'll skyrocket to the top. You know what I mean? Yeah.
So I was like, how can we amplify the voices of young adults? And of course there's 100 ways to do it. But I actually, partially because of my journalism background, but a form of journalism I really love is audio storytelling, which is typically thought of as something that like 60-year-old people like sit and listen to, and maybe that's true, but I think, thank you. I think there's so much power in audio storytelling, which is a little bit different than a lot of the podcasts that we hear, which are more like chatcast style, which is great. But I really love audio storytelling. So I was able to partner with our department and media professionals and some pastors. And essentially, Dear Church is a limited series. It was never supposed to go on forever. It was a 10-part limited series where we tell the stories of 8 Seventh-day Adventist young adults who each have a little bit of a unique piece to their story. The first episode is an introduction, and I interview a bunch of young adults and hear from them. The last episode is like the closing episode, and in between are those 8 stories. So they would share their story with me, and we would hear all about their journey in the church. It was very honest, and then it would conclude with them reading a handwritten letter that they had written to the Seventh-day Adventist Church, which is why it was called Dear Church. But we wanted to only hear their voice, hear their desires for the church once we've heard their story. Because once I think you get to know somebody, you're so much more open to hearing what they have to say.
Absolutely.
And then these 8 people were so amazing to let me interview them and help tell their story. They were critical of the church. They also shared how much it means to them. We interviewed somebody who wanted to be a pastor and then felt called into something else. We interviewed a young woman who talked about her struggles with alcohol, and not in a shame-based way, but just in a very honest way. We talked to somebody who's part of the queer community and was so willing to share about that, which I was grateful for. A lot of really cool stories, and I was so grateful for the feedback that we heard from that project.
Yeah, and I like how you said you people who were critical and then also showed like their love for the church. A lot of them were like the same people. Like those things go hand in hand. Like they had these criticisms because they loved the church.
Absolutely,
you know what I
they
mean?
love the church. They want the church to succeed and thrive, but they want it to be healthy. They want it to be a place where they and their peers can feel seen and valued. And who wouldn't? Yeah,
this might be kind of a general question, but like, what were some of like your biggest like surprises and takeaways from doing that project?
Just how much it seemed like when I asked them to write a letter to the church, it seemed like they had thought before, maybe not in that context, but they had something to say. Like I didn't have to pull it out of them. And they were so beautiful and eloquent in their words. And that's why I do encourage anybody who wants to listen to
Yeah.
it to check it out.
After this episode.
Right.
Yes.
Listen to this first.
Yes.
Listen to this first.
Yes. Please.
Don't stop listening. Then listen to Dear Church.
Yes.
Because
Thank you.
I think that these are messages we need to hear, and they speak on behalf of a generation in many ways.
Yeah.
So yeah, really grateful for that, and hoping to do some more eventually.
And I think it's great. I think anyone from any generation can listen to that and appreciate it for different reasons. Like someone from an older might listen to that and hear a perspective they don't understand.
Especially the older generation.
Especially.
And then the last episode, which you didn't listen because you quit.
I did, yes. I did not listen to it, no. You were right about that, yeah.
In the last episode, we didn't feature one story. We actually started talking to other generations. And so without giving too much away, I went to a fourth grade classroom and interviewed a classroom of fourth graders to ask them some questions about the church. And then I interviewed a woman who was in her 70s, I believe, and asked her about the church. And then a man who was kind of a little younger than that. So we wanted to hear from the different generations, Gen X, Boomers, Gen Alpha. Because really that's what the church should be, right? A place where every generation feels heard.
Yeah. No, I agree. And I'm sorry, I'm going to be honest. That I heard about your show last summer when it came out, like as it was airing. My dad told me about it. I don't know. You might know my dad, Oscar. Olivarria.
That's your dad?
Yeah, it's my dad.
Yes, I know your dad.
Yeah. He's
Wow.
interesting guy. Shorter than me.
Oh, is he?
5'6".
Yeah, a lot more handsome.
5'6". Well, that's what they say. And athletic and just more personable.
That's so cool.
And
Your
smart.
dad's a great guy.
Yes.
We worked together for a time
Yeah.
in the conference, and I have a lot of respect for him.
Yeah, and he's all right, but no, he's a cool guy. But
so he told you about it last summer.
He told me about it last
and you
summer.
did not listen to it.
I did not listen to it. No, but then actually not true. I listened to the introduction. It really stuck in my head. I was in a very different place where I was very angry at the Adventist church.
Oh, wow.
So it came at like a really good time, and it ended up being an inspiration for this show. Like it was in the back of my mind of like there is an audience and there is people who like really want to listen to this long form thing about Adventists from a different perspective. From an honest perspective, from one that's not like pampered, doesn't feel like propaganda, but it feels like genuine and earnest, And so like projects like Dear Church and then other ones were genuine inspirations for this show in itself. So so thanks for doing shows like that.
I appreciate you saying that. That actually means a lot to hear, and I appreciate you giving just. See, you're such a good example because you had some anger towards the church, totally fair, and yet you continue to invest into it. You continue to listen. You're creating something of your own here. You could have just said forget it all, and you haven't. And another reason why I have so much respect for your generation and for you personally.
No, and I appreciate that. But I think that that's going to be it, is that there are, like I said, Pete, it's easy to get jaded, but there are going to be the ones who see the value of the church and the value of like keeping it what it should be, and keeping it going. And I think that'll be the ultimate question, right? Are more people going to give up on it, or are they going to keep going? You know what I mean? And I am optimistic about that. I think there's going to be the ones that keep going.
And we should also say that we have to thank the institutions that are giving us the freedom to create some of these projects, right? So La Sierra University has obviously given their blessing upon this show.
Absolutely.
My conference, Southeastern California Conference, allowed me to make Dear Church. And I asked them, I said, here are the guests I would like to have. Do you have any issues? And they said, no, go for it. And so I appreciate the leaders, most of which are in older generations, who have said, no, we need this.
Right.
And that gives me hope as well.
Yeah. No, literally same here. The idea was to like, hey, I want to have this show, but I don't want it to just feel like just very shallow. I want to get into things that people want to hear about, So I wanted to get you on to discuss I want to get into it, like the challenges of like that the church is facing right now of like retaining, young people and specifically teachers and pastors. There is a bit of a shortage right now.
Yeah.
And other hot topics because, it's important to hear about them and not to ignore them, and hear from the people who are on the forefront of our communities, like straight from the horse's mouth, like what do you believe and why, to have our trust in them, So I think it's important. But so going back around to that, I did want to talk to you about that like more general issue that the church is facing. And you talk about it in your church and all that. Young people are leaving church. It's not going as up in the way that we would like it to be. So what do you personally attribute that to? Do you see that changing in the future? What's your perspective and opinion on that?
Yeah, obviously a big question.
Obviously, I'm sorry.
A good question and a fair question, but one that I'm probably inadequate to fully provide the best response.
Hey, is there anyone who's
really
inadequate?
It should be you guys telling. I'm an old guy, so we should be just listening to you and sharing. But I would say this in my experience in ministry, I guess, from that perspective, and I will note that recent statistics suggest there's been more of an uptick in Gen Z
That is-
attendance,
it is
especially
true.
among young men.
That's true.
Different reasons for that. There's been a bit of a conservative swing in the country, which has brought a lot of young men back to
very true.
church, and
Yes,
so
correct.
we want to acknowledge that. But in general, if you look at a decade ago to now,
Yeah.
still things have changed.
By and
certainly,
large.
certainly previous decades. Multiple reasons. In general, Christianity in America, ebbs and flows. But I think, speaking from an Adventist perspective
Right.
and as a pastor,
Yeah.
that what I have seen is a church that is unwilling to adapt and a church that is afraid of culture. Which is kind of a funny thing to me, because culture is people. We kind of vilify, like, what is the world doing?
Yeah,
And we kind of
the-
oppose the
the
church
world.
and the world,
Yes,
and I'm
the
like, well, the
world.
world is people, and people who were called to go love and serve. So why
We
are
are in the world already,
Yeah. But I understand that. I think what they're saying is that they do not want trends, possibly harmful, or the whims of subcultures to manipulate and influence the Christianity.
Corrupt
I think
it, yeah.
corrupt. Yeah, it's a good word, a better word.
I agree.
And I can get that. Like there is something to preserving and conserving
Right.
the values that you have as an organization.
Totally.
There's nothing wrong with that. I think the problem is when we think it's all or nothing, so
Mm-hmm.
we become completely unable or immune to any type of adaptation
Right.
or innovation,
Yeah.
which is the way that any institution dies, organization,
Literally,
or
yeah,
company
yeah.
is going to die, right?
It becomes
So-
more about being correct than it is about
Yeah.
being like the action. You lose the point. You
Yeah,
lose the
yeah.
point.
So there's a spectrum to too much, or really we should be conserving certain things and we should be progressing in certain things, right?
right.
Same for our country, same for our world.
Correct.
So I think a church that has been unwilling to adapt, that has not been willing to hear the voices of young people, and that has been afraid of culture, has led us to a point where, wouldn't you know it, we seem irrelevant and out of touch to an emerging generation.
Yeah.
That kind of seems how it would work. But there are always reasons for hope, and there are always reasons to see that God is not done with the church, and that God's Spirit is on the move always. And anytime I get concerned about the big picture, sometimes we need to look at the smaller picture and
Right.
see all of the beautiful things that are still happening within the church, and maybe it's not as doom and gloom as we imagine.
Yeah.
And being here at La Sierra this week has reminded me of that. It's been so much fun to be at chapel, to see what's happening on campus.
That's awesome.
I believe that God's Spirit is very present here, and that's because of the young people leading.
Shoot, that's awesome. Well, you hear that, young people? You guys are doing all right. All right. Well, I think we're just about wrapped up. I do have one question, like a couple fun ones that I ask all my guests, just to kind of just throw it out there. So, one, because I'm a film major. Do you have a favorite movie?
I do.
Want to tell us what it is?
Oh,
Or you can just keep
sure.
it. You can keep it like to yourself. That's cool.
It's very private.
We'll guess.
actually.
Yeah. Okay.
So I think that my all-time favorite movie, this is so basic.
Okay.
But I don't care because it's good.
Yes. That's good. That's fine.
Forrest Gump.
That's a great movie.
I love Forrest
great
Gump.
movie.
I've watched it countless times. It moves me every time.
Yes.
It's an incredible story. And you know what? If that makes me basic, then I'm basic.
That's fine. That's good. That's a good answer.
Second favorite movie, even more basic. Titanic. Let's go. 3.5
Wow.
hours. 3.5 hours that I enjoy every minute of. Did you know that boat sank?
Wow. Did it really? Did you know that it broke in half?
Crazy.
And then the insurance companies tried to lie and say that it didn't break in half. And so like that's why there's like for like years there was a debate.
My third favorite movie is
So,
probably
okay, all right.
I love, you know what a movie I love? It's not my third favorite movie.
What?
I love this movie, but it's really, you said you were depressed after listening to Dear Church.
Yes.
This movie's really depressing, but it's so good. It's called Manchester by the Sea.
That's a great movie.
Have you seen that?
Yes, I have. It's a
Let's
great
go.
movie.
Casey Affleck, it is so good, but it's
Incredible.
really heavy.
It's really
It's
heavy.
not a pick-me-up
No.
movie, but I love that movie.
It's great. So
Yeah.
real.
Interstellar,
That's another good one.
fantastic.
Manchester's better, but yes, Interstellar's.
They're both up there.
They're both. No, Interstellar's pretty good.
The Lion King.
Pretty,
Let's go.
The original, right?
1994.
Good.
Disney
I
classic.
thought you were gonna say no, the 2019 CGI version.
No, that doesn't exist.
Good. No, yeah, it doesn't exist.
What's your favorite movie?
My Lord of the Rings, the Fellowship of the Ring.
The first one?
The first one.
I think the first one is the best.
the
one.
best. It is the best one.
I'm
It's
not
pretty
really a sci-fi person.
It's fantasy,
because
but
I'm not.
it's cool.
Oh, I was gonna.
yeah, yeah, that's fine. Yeah.
You're right.
You know what? Yeah, that's cool.
Well, like I said, I'm not really into it, so I don't even know
You're
what
cool,
genre
Aaron.
it is.
We get it,
Yeah,
man.
sure.
You're cool, dude.
Yeah, I
You
got
get
my
it. You
desk
like
on,
basketball.
yeah.
You like the Kings. You get it. You don't watch Lord of the Rings.
Are we
That's
done
fine,
yet? How long do I have to be
Aren,
here?
thank you so much. We're going to wrap up the episode. This was a great one.
Wait, no, are there no other fun questions? That's it? The movie?
The movie was the one I just tried. I mean, we do like favorite music, favorite song. Which your
Favorite band?
favorite band? Go.
Mumford & Sons.
Wow, we should have cut the episode. Oh my goodness. All right, we're going to wrap it up. Thank you, Mr.
I've been to 6 Mumford & Sons concerts. If that makes me the whitest person you've ever met, I'll take that.
The whitest man you know,
I'm
Mr.
sorry that they're
Aren
amazing
Rennacker.
at music.
I'm not gonna lie, Mumford.
I'm so sorry.
I was joking. I have them on my playlist right
Let's
now
go.
on my
Oh,
phone.
I'm sorry they don't use auto-tune and some synthesized beat
Yeah.
on a computer and they actually know how to play
sorry they're talented.
guitar and the kick drum at
Yeah.
the same time.
Yeah,
I got
yeah.
no shame about it.
All right.
Ask me one more.
Okay.
We're not done until I say we're
We're
done.
not done. Okay, we're gonna keep going. What is your favorite? Do you have a TV show? Favorite TV show?
All right, I'm done.
Mr. Rennacker, thank you
Thank you.
so much.
Thank you.
This was a great episode.
Thank you.
That was awesome there. Thank you so
we
much.
cut?
We're cutting. We're cutting. Dun, 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 dun. The music comes in.